My name is Phyllis Payne Sink, and I was born September the 3rd, 1923. We had a big family at my house, 10 children. My daddy was married twice. He had 2 children before he and my mother married. They had 8, 2 sets of twins. I'm one of the twins, and I have twin brothers, Bobby and Banks. And we really, well, I reckon we're mean little devils. uh, we we had a lot of fights and had a lot of good times too. But we I don't see how my mama stood this. I really don't, 'cause we were really into something all the time. And I know one time we Daddy sold fertilizer, and we were scared of black people back then. They wasn't like it is now. And Daddy sold fertilizer, and we were playing in the playhouse. And this man, black man, came in a wagon to get some fertilizer. And he was looking, just riding along, looking like everybody else does. And we thought he was seeing us. And when he stopped, we knew he was after us. And I was faster than the rest of them. So they told me I had to take Bobby and Banks and run to the house. And they hid behind wood piles and in the old toilet and just different places. Left me with the boys. Well, I seen the black man was going to get to the house before I did, and I turned the boys loose. And the others come and picked him up, and that poor old, I can see him yet. He just stopped. He was a nice man, and he didn't even think about hurting us, but we just knew he was after us. But they all put it on me to take care of the babies, 'cause I was faster than the rest of them. But Mama, she apologized to the poor old man, and he said he was sorry. He didn't mean to scare us, said he wouldn't have done that for nothing, but we were just scared. And we used to play in the playhouse a whole lot. Now, kids, they don't even know what that's like. Even my children didn't know what that was like. But we'd fix us a playhouse, and we'd go to church, and we had on the side of the barn, we had this old shed and had a buggy in it. And we'd go to church. That was our church. And there was a chicken sitting on a nest under the buggy. Well, we'd run that chicken up, and you know how they'll cackle and carry on. Well, that was our preacher. And when that chicken would stop cackling, our preacher was over. And now, wasn't that stupid? But now that was. And we'd fix us a picnic basket, and we'd go down in the cow pasture, way down, carry a bunch of junk, and get down there, and we'd get tired. We'd throw everything down and leave it. We wouldn't bring it to the house. We'd have to go back when we got ready to play again and get it, bring it back. But we had a good time. We had a lot of hard work to do. We had to go out in the field. I worked out in the field when I guess 6 year old. I had to start working in the field, and I was too little to sucker tobacco, but I could get them on the ground, dead leaves and all on the bottom and on the ground, and that's what I had to do until I got where I could reach up and do the rest. So we had to worm old tobacco, and we just worked. Every time the cultivator went through the field, we had to take the hoe through the field. And we hoed old tobacco and corn and worked all summer long. And if we had a day off, we'd tell Mama she'd find something to do. We'd think we'd get to play in the playhouse, and we'd start playing, and she'd call us. They had something to do. So we got to play some, but we didn't get to play too much. And And when I was in school, I played basketball in my high school days. And if it hadn't been for basketball, I don't believe I'd have ever finished school. But I loved basketball so good that I knew I couldn't play if I didn't go to school. I couldn't play. So I played the 4 years that I was in high school, and I made the all county team my senior year. But I don't know how I done that. But Kathleen Hilton said I should have had it a year before that, but it didn't matter to me. I didn't even think about nothing like that. But we lost the tournament that year. Our school, our Hasty, won the tournament 7 or 8 years straight, and we should have won it the year that I graduated. But we played Wahlberg, and we got college chummy before we went out together and all, and we just didn't play ball, so we lost that one. But I really enjoyed ball. And our seniors, we went to Washington our senior year, and went on a bus, and we had a good time up there. And that was a real treat for us because when we were young, we didn't get to go nowhere much. When we got to go to town, we was tickled to death. We thought we was really going somewhere. And Mama would take us when she had to buy some shoes or something like that. We'd get to go to town, but other than that, we didn't go to town. And in the lower grades at school, we didn't get money to buy anything, candy and stuff. My mom and daddy couldn't afford it. We just didn't have the money. And if we got a nickel, we thought we had everything. Now, we thought that was it. We was really doing good. And for Christmas, one Christmas, I got a lead pencil for Christmas, and I thought that was the grandest thing that I could have gotten. It just tickled me to death. Just a pencil. And the day, if you'd give that to a kid, they'd throw it at you. But we were proud. We didn't have nothing. We didn't get nothing much. And I know I got one little baby doll that I remember, but it's real small. And I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. I had really got something that year. But we just didn't get things like the people do now. I don't know much.
Got any stories from school?
Didn't you go to church up at
Bunker Hill.
Bunker Hill?
Oh yeah, my dad and mother were Hard Shell Baptists, and they had 4 churches, and that the preachers preached at 4 churches, and at Bunker Hill they'd be there a certain Sunday in the month, and at the other 3 churches each one had a certain church. And one time we were at Bunker Hill, and Mama always they would preach so long. So there'd be 2 preachers sometime, and sometimes they'd preach a couple hours apiece or something. And they'd preach so long, and Mama would always make us go in the church and sit for one preacher. And we'd sit there and just wish he would hurry and sit down, because we didn't get nothing out of it. We couldn't understand him. And one time we was sitting in there, Uncle Tom's kids and us were all on the same bench, and Lucille had a compact and it had this loose powder in it. And I was looking at it, and I was looking at the mirror, and I blowed to clean the mirror off, and powder puffed up. And this woman sitting in front of us had a fur coat on, and it just went all over her. Well, we got tickled. And I don't know, Mama, she didn't see us laughing, I don't think. I don't remember her getting on to us or, taking us out. But we sure didn't act like we should sometime in church, because we was ugly. But we had to sit so long, and they had the foot washing one time, and that was something that to see that we wasn't used to that either. And I thought that was something too. Everybody was washing each other's foot, and I thought, what in the world are they washing their feet for? I didn't remember. I didn't know what all that stuff was about. I was just a kid, but I couldn't understand why they was doing all of that. But Maxine and my grandmother and Granddaddy Shields lived in Curtisville, and it's where the Center Ford company is now. Was my granddaddy's barn set there, and the house was up this right side of where that trucking company is. And Maxine and I went up there. We'd go up there and spend the week in the summertime with Grandma and Grandpa, and my cousin Bill Shields, he would come down and play with us, and we'd go out. We'd play, and we have a good time up there, and I enjoyed that a whole lot. We thought, well, that was a treat for us to get to go and do something like that. But we always liked to go to Grandma's and spend the week. And she'd act like that. She liked for us to come so good. And I know one time we was up there, and she had some beans out in the garden, and she wanted to pick them for seed. And she hated to tell us to pick them, but she kept a hint, and she wanted us to go out there and pick them beans so bad. There were beans for seed, and we didn't do it. And so the day before, on Friday, Maxine said, we just might as well go and pick them beans because we're going to hear it all the rest of the time. And said, we need to help her. Said, we better go pick them. And I said, it won't take us long. So we went out there and picked the beans. And, oh, Grandma just went on about you sweet. She used to call us sweet little devils. And I guess that hit us. And she'd say, oh, you sweet little devils. And said that, I just appreciate it so much. I mean, she really appreciated it. But we'd put it off all week. And poor old thing, she couldn't get down too good. She's kind of heavy then, and she couldn't get down too good. We should have went on done it the first time she started hinting about it. But we'd help her do things like that, and she would enjoy it. And they had an apple tree out there behind the house, and she'd say, now, you all, those apples are green, and you better not eat them or you'll have the stomach ache. We'd tell her, okay. So we'd go out there and get us some apples and go out in the front yard and sit out there and eat those apples. Well, she knew we was eating them apples. I know she had to know it. But anyway, she didn't call us down or nothing. But we eat those apples. We thought this good. And she didn't get on to us, though. I don't know whether she knew or not. She probably didn't know it. We probably done a pretty good job of hiding. But we had a good time going up there and seeing her. But we didn't get to go too much. No, we didn't. If we'd have got to go on to Winston, when we got to go there, we'd go to the fair. Now, every year, Daddy'd come, would take us out of school on dinner on a Wednesday. It was that was the day for school kids. And every Wednesday, when the fair came to Winston, we'd go to the fair. But Grandma and Grandpa Shields, I had an uncle, Rober Shields, that lived there close to the fairground, and Grandma and Grandpa Shields would go there, and we'd go there and meet. We'd get with the family, and then we'd all go to the fair. So that's the reason we got to go to the fair at Winston every year. So we got to be with my Grandma and Grandpa Shields, and my Uncle Robert and Aunt Layla Shields. And we looked forward to that. But now that was a treat for us to get to do that. So what else did we do?
Did you live in the same house the whole time you grew up?
Yeah, I lived in the same house. Daddy, when Daddy was first married, there was just a two-room house, and then after his wife died, they had two children, and Nita was 7-year-old and Nolan was 5-year-old when Mom and Daddy married. And they built onto the house then, and built, the rest of the house on it built a pretty big house then. And but we lived in that house. I lived there the whole time until I got married.
You didn't tell who his first wife was.
His first wife was Vera Veach. It was Peggy Sink's mother's sister, and we called her Vera's sisters and brothers, aunt and uncle, just like we did Mama's sisters and brothers, and Grandma Veach, just like Grandma Shields and Grandma Payne. I mean, we just like it. Just that was in our family.
Bigger family.
Yeah, just a bigger family, and we thought a lot of all of them too, and Nita and Nolan, I never knew any difference in them and my whole brothers and sisters. I loved them just as much as I did my brothers and sisters. I couldn't tell no difference in them, really.
Why don't you name them all in order of age?
Okay, Nita was the oldest, and she was 7, as I said, when Mom and Daddy was married, and Nolan was her whole brother. He was 5. And then Mama and Daddy had Shields. Now, we had all of these now within 10 years. Had Shields, and then Sybil. I can't tell you the years that they were born. And Helen, and then Maxine and me. When Maxine and me were born, we shocked the whole neighborhood, the doctor and everybody. And Mama was so shocked we didn't get a name till we was 2 weeks old. And Mama still didn't know what to name us. They was just so shocked that they had two. And finally Grandma Shields was down there and she said, I'm going to name these kids. And so she had these neighbor girls that she thought so much of, Phyllis and Maxine McCoy. She says, name them Phyllis and Maxine. Mama said, that's fine. And that's the only name we got. We didn't get a double name. We just Phyllis and it was just Maxine. But that's the way we got our name. And then Nell came along. She's 3 years younger than we are. And she was the pet of the family. Now, Daddy, he just petted her like crazy. And he'd give her money to go, at school. And she got petted. Then Bobby and Banks come along. Well, that was two more, you see. And Nell claims to this day that, yes, they'd come up and say, oh, those cute little twins. Said they wouldn't say nothing about me. But that wasn't so. They did talk about her, too. But she made it like she didn't get no attention because we were twins on each side of her. But she did. She was the pet of the family, really. Daddy really thought she was. I reckon Daddy petted her because she was by herself, and we two of them before and two after her. But Mama really had a rough life. I don't see how she done it. She had to work hard, and she done all of our sewing. She'd make us 3 dresses. Now we didn't put on a clean dress every morning like they do now. But Mama make us all 3 dresses apiece. And we wear them 2 days. We'd wear one day and one the next, and then go back to the second day and get like that. But we didn't have a dress for every day, We had to and Mama made all of our clothes. She'd have to sew all summer to get us ready to go to school in the wintertime. But she really made pretty dresses, and she'd fancy them up, with braid and all, and we had some pretty clothes. Mama made pretty clothes. She was a good seamstress, but she worked hard. I don't know much more to say.
Tell me about your friends in school and all, and anything you might have done with some friends, or any dating that you did before Grandpa?
Well, now we couldn't date till we were 16 years old, and I know the first date I ever had was with Chester Marion, and it snowed. And he didn't get to come, and it just broke my heart. I thought, well, I'll never get to date him again because he won't come to see me no more. And but it snowed, and he didn't get to come that night. But we didn't get to date, but just one night a week. And our boyfriends had to leave by 11 o'clock. They couldn't stay after 11 o'clock. They had to go home. And when if we went out riding or anything, we had to be at home at 8:30. And now that's early. Some kids now, they don't have dates till 10 o'clock. But Mom and Daddy, I guess they had such a big family, and they had to be strict on us because they wanted to be sure that, we done like we supposed to do. And luckily, none of us got pregnant. None of us got in any trouble. We done good, really. For that many children and all, I thought Daddy and Mama done a good job. But we didn't think it was right. I know when I first started dating Ralph, he thought it was awful because we had to come in at 8:30, and I says, well, now, Ralph, that's the rules, and if you don't want to do it, well, just don't come back. and it was a little bad. Now, if Mama knew we was at somebody's house or something, we could stay a little longer than that, but they had to know where we was at. And nowadays, parents don't know where their children are. They don't even know. But back then, they really kept close watch, But I didn't live in the buggy days. I don't remember. I don't remember the buggies. I seen buggies, but I don't remember riding in them or anything like that. Daddy had an old Model T Ford, 2-seated Model T Ford, and in the wintertime it'd be so cold. They called them curtains, but it's something that they'd fasten up, kind of close it in. And then we'd have to take quilts or something and throw over our feet and legs. We'd freeze to death going to Grandpa's,
You said it was a 2-seated model?
Yeah.
How'd you get all those kids?
Well, we was in there. We was packed in there. Yeah, we all got in there. But I don't know how. I guess we sat on top of each other and everything else. Of course, Mama had probably a couple in front with her then, too. But we got in there, and I know we was packed in like sardines. Probably some of the little smaller ones probably sit on the others' laps or something. But if we hadn't had, we had to take quilts and things, blankets or something to cover up, and we'd freeze to death. And still got cold. Wasn't like it is now. But I tell you, we had some rough times. We had hard times, and my daddy worked hard, and Mama did too. They were hard workers, and we could have raised tobacco. We had land that we could have raised tobacco on and could have had better, you know. But the government wouldn't let us raise but so much. And we had to rent from Mr. Wright's, raise tobacco and give them half of the money. When we had land laying there that we couldn't use it, but the government wouldn't let us raise it. And that was bad. So we had to work double for nothing. You see, we had to work and give Mr. Wright half, and we got half. So that was pretty rough. We didn't much like it. Of course, we had to do it. We done anything we could to make a living. And then sometimes Daddy'd have to borrow money to get us in school, cause we really had a rough time. We were poor. We didn't have no money, but we had the love. That was the main thing. We had plenty of love. And to this day, if anybody we don't think they're doing what they should, we don't mind telling each other. but we love each other. But if anybody's not doing right, we tell them they're not, and we don't mind it, you know. We just tell each other what we think, you know, about each other, and sometimes if they don't think it's right, if they don't like it, they just don't pay no attention, you know. But we kind of stick together. We still stick together a whole lot. You go out, try to go out. We didn't last year, I don't think, but we used to try to go out every Christmas and eat. All of us get together and go out and eat. Eat a meal, and we kind of got off of that. And I told them the other week we need to get back into that, cause we're getting on up in years, and I tell you, it makes a difference when you get older, cause you don't know how long. Of course, you can die when you're young, but when you get on up your late 70s and early 80s and all, you think more about it than you do when you're 60 and 50 and 70. So we really need to still do that, but we don't do it much. But we have a good time. We still have a good time together.
Well, go back and tell me about how you started dating Grandpa.
Well, Ralph and I were in school together. We were in the same class, and I had dated A.B. Moore and broke up with him. We had broke up, and his brother was good buddy with Ralph, and Ralph was, I don't know how he come about. I don't remember how he come about wanting to date me. But anyway, I heard the AB's brother Futrell say, well, he'll not get to come up there. And I said, well, I'll just show him. So I gave Ralph a date, and you know what? I never dated nobody else. Just dated Ralph. And I told her, I said, Ralph, you see, I dated you for spite. You see what it got me into?
Do you remember what you did on your first date?
Oh, Lord. No, I don't remember what we done on our first date. No, I don't.
Do you remember him proposing to you?
Yeah. Well, he was in services, you know, and he kept writing back, about us getting married, and I'd write back to him about it. And so when he, well, that was before he went in services, though. When he gave me my diamond, we were all out in the yard, and there's so many, all of us, and all of us out there and all. I guess he wanted to get me to myself, and he said, let's go in the house, get us some water. So we went in the house and got us a drink of water and came back to the hall, got out in the hall, and he gave me my diamond. And that's what he wanted to go get water. He wanted to give me my diamond, but he didn't want to give it in front of everybody. Mm-hmm. And then I went out there and showed him my diamond. But Ralph was bashful. He was so bashful. I know every time when Helen wasn't married, and she wasn't dating much then. And every time Ralph would come up to the house, when she'd get ready to go to bed, she'd call bedtime on him, tell him it's time to go to bed, time for him to go home. Ralph said, well, go ahead, I'm not going to sleep with you tonight. But he was bashful. Ralph was bashful. And one year for Christmas, I gave him a billfold and a key ring. and I had it wrapped up. And now back then that was a nice gift, but now y'all think it wasn't nothing. But I had it all wrapped up, ready for him. And when I gave it to him, Helen and Maxine had taken that gift and unwrapped it and filled the bill fold up with pinto beans. Ralph loved pinto beans. And they filled that billfold up with pinto beans and wrapped it back up. And when Ralph opened it up, there was those beans in there, and it just shocked me to death. And they thought that was smart, and they just laughed. Well, I laughed with them too. It didn't bother. I mean, it didn't bother me. I just laughed with them too. And Ralph, it didn't bother him either. He said, "Well, that was good. He liked those things." But one time when Nita Nolan was a date, and this is pretty good. The boys done this. Chills and Don and Richard, I mean, those older boys done this. We had an old Victrola sitting in the front room, and they fixed the needle down on the record and took a string and tied to the thing that turned it on. And they run it back in the back hall, and when they're sitting in there, they pulled that old string. And that old Victrola, like just scared Nita to death. But things like that, I mean, they tried to play pranks on, by ones that was dating like that. And I know when Sybil started dating Lonnie, Lonnie's eyes kind of, come down on the sides. And we'd get out, poor Lonnie couldn't see us and Sybil could, and we'd do things like that, bring our eyes down. And she'd get so mad at us. But we'd do it to tease her. But we was kind of devilish like that, doing things like that. But we had good times. We've had some good times, and we used to. I know one time I got mad at Sybil, and she got mad at me, and I said, "When I get married, I don't want you to ever come to see me." She says, "Don't worry, I won't want to." And I still remember that. And I tell her that every once in a while. We just laugh about it. But I was mad at her. I don't know what I was mad at her at, but I was mad at her about something. But Ralph and I dated, we started dating, we graduated in 1941, and we started dating the last of our senior year. And he had to go in services, and he was gone 18 months. I forgot, what year did you go in services? Do you remember? About 43. When did the war end? 48? No, it was more than
He was born in 47.
47, wasn't it? Well,
not,
Daddy was born at the beginning of 47, so it had to have been.
it was right. Ralph come home in September, before Ralph. No, it was. How was that? Ralph come home, and we were married 2 years before he come home. He was in services. And then he came home. I forgot what year he came home, but in 47, Keith was born. And we was married in 45. So Ralph got married before, we didn't get married until the first furlough he got home from the Army. Navy, he was in the Navy. And the first furlough, when he came in, we decided to get married, then we could stay together all the time while he was in. If we didn't, we wouldn't get to be together all the time. So we just decided to go ahead and get married then instead of waiting till he got out of services. And I went to Rhode Island and stayed a month with him before he went overseas. I stayed up there. That was an experience. And I gained so much weight. You couldn't get chocolate candy down here. They just didn't have it down here. And up there you could just get all the chocolate candy you wanted. And that's what I lived on. I loved chocolate candy, and I lived on it. Boy, I gained so much weight. When I come home, everybody thought I was pregnant. But I wasn't. Because I was a good while after that I got pregnant with Keith. Then Becky and...
Let's see about Bonhoeffer.
Okay.
when the light's on, it's on.
You're ready.
I'm Ralph Sink. Ralph Grayson Sink, they call me, some of them. I was born April 14, 1924. And I don't know. I'm the youngest of of the family, youngest of 11. 6 sisters, 4 brothers. And Lord, well, I better
Start those, yeah.
go with the oldest first, I suppose. Edith was my oldest sister. I can't tell you when they were born.
That's okay.
She was the oldest, and Myrtle was the next one. No, Zella was the next one. Myrtle was the next one.
Gladys.
Yeah, I reckon Gladys was next. And now I think there's a boy come. I think Melvin come along then. I reckon Claude Lee.
Leland.
Yeah, I reckon Leland was after Claude Lee.
Mildred.
Mildred comes in, and then Lloyd, and then me. No, Leland. We got Leland, didn't
Yeah, yeah.
You got one more you left out. Before you.
we?
Gladys.
We said Gladys, Zella.
Get Edith and Ethel both?
Ethel. Ethel, you didn't get Ethel.
McGee, Zella.
You got
You
her.
got Zella, you didn't get Ethel.
Yeah, I reckon we missed Ethel, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, I think we should have wrote that down.
That's okay. Okay, and were you born in this house?
No, I wasn't born. Yes, I was born here, but Melvin was only the last one. He was the oldest. The last one was born here, I think.
No, you, not the last one, you was born here.
I mean, he was the first boy.
He was 2-year-old when they moved in
He
this
was
house.
2-year-old when I
Built
was born here. When he was born. When the
When
house
you
was born, made,
this house. Built.
built. Melvin was a
Two.
boy then, 2-year-old. So I was born here in this house.
You lived here all your life.
All my life I've lived here, till now.
Now? Where you at now?
I don't know where I'll end up. But I hope it's here. Anyhow, we got mixed up on that one, didn't we?
That's okay. Keep going. Just forget the camera's here.
Tell about your school days.
Well,
How come you did want to date with me?
I didn't start off with dating you in school.
That's right. Tell about the others.
I went to school with Miss Hamilton, my first teacher. I wasn't in, Phyllis wasn't in my grade back then. She had to stay out a little bit because they got sick and got behind. But I caught up with her about
Seventh grade.
high school.
7th grade.
7th grade, I reckon.
7th grade.
We just had 11 grades back then. But we was the same class as most of the time after that. I remember when they played ball, and I played too, but boys' team back then at Hasty wasn't as good as girls' teams. They didn't win championships as much as the girls. It seemed like the girls always had the best team. But we got through it. We had a good time playing ball. play as rough as they do now, though. Irene Yarber was our main teacher, homeroom teacher, probably all the time.
3 years.
Last 3 years in high school. She was pretty good, pretty strict too. I got along pretty good with her, but some of them didn't do good because she was strict. She had, Sam Moore had a little trouble with her, but she tightened down on him pretty good. They got along all right, but he was a pretty good ball player in basketball, and he had some trouble in making the grades. Phil was just telling me that she didn't know what we'd done the first date or for any of them along there, but we went over on Lexington Avenue right smart over there to what's the name of
Boat
and Hammer store.
Yeah. Eat hot dogs and hamburgers.
He liked to sell hot dogs and hamburgers. And that wasn't a lot of else that I don't think over there. I don't remember eating. Well, I guess we couldn't afford any more, probably.
That's where about everybody went.
Yeah.
They didn't go out and eat like they did now.
Tell me about falling out of the truck.
Well, the children, me and Lloyd was mostly then, I reckon. We'd go with my daddy to deliver eggs and butter and stuff that he sold uptown. And so we was, I think, in the Model T, and after we got done up there, we was coming down Burton Road. I don't guess it was Burton Road. I don't remember it having a name back then, but anyhow, we got down, coming on down in Davidson County right much, up at pretty close to where the Kennedys lived. Is up a little above that, Bob Kennedy's. Up above what road was that? Grew through there. It's this Hasty School Road now.
No, it's a Joe Moore Road.
Joe Moore Road up there, I reckon. On above that a little, maybe. It was right, wasn't far above the Hasty School Road. Anyhow, I fell out of the car up there, and the way they tell it, the car kept going. It did go a little piece maybe, but they tell it went way down the road.
Down to the forts up here.
I doubt that.
Mississippi turned around and see where it is.
Phyllis likes to stretch it right
No, I
smart. Anyhow, she says she can tell it better than I can. She said that Pop turned around and asked him where I was. No, he fell out of the car back
Back up the
the
road.
road. I don't think it went that far.
He did. That's what he missed. He turned
Anyhow.
around and looked.
Anyhow, Lord, I think said I fell out of the car up the road. They had to stop and go back and get me. I don't remember all that.
How old were
I
you
remember. I seems like I fell out. I might remember that a little bit. They wouldn't let me forget it, I don't think.
then? Well, do you know how old you were?
I don't know how old I was, but I couldn't tell you that. I wasn't very big. Anyhow, they got me back anyhow. Phyllis likes to tell about it.
I can tell a whole lot better than you did.
Okay, tell me about what your daddy did for a living. You were talking about him selling things. What all-
Well, we raised about 3 cows back then, and we didn't drink all the milk and the butter. Mom made butter, and we had chickens. We'd sell butter and eggs at town to get some money, because we had to have pinto beans. We sell butter and get beans. I think we lived pretty well on beans. Of course, we raised plenty of potatoes too, but I guess I eat more beans than potatoes. We had other things. We didn't go hungry, but we did. He did sell right much butter and eggs. I don't know. I think that's why I didn't like butter and milk too well. I didn't drink it milk, and never did eat butter. I eat vegetables mostly.
Turned out we used to raise hogs too.
Yeah, we raised hogs too, and I like hog meat. Eat chickens right much.
Cured
We was-
hams.
Yeah. Eat hogs, raised hogs, eat hog meat. Always had ham to cure and eat them along in the winter. Getting on up, I reckon, into high school. Last year we was in school. Leslie Willard found out where there's a Model A Ford, a T Model Ford for sale, and he wanted me to go in with him and buy it. It's up there at the Hiltons. So I think it was, I believe it was $20. It was parts it'd been used, and I don't know, it would still run, but Hilton's up there, that lady had it parked in the garage.
Who was he?
No,
Hattie.
can't call her name now, no. But anyhow, Leslie talked me into going in with him. We $10 a piece for that Model A Ford. A T Model Ford. I get them mixed up. But anyhow, I would have it one week, and then him the next week be in charge of it. Of course, we could go ride together too, help some, but we didn't do a lot of riding because we couldn't afford the gas. But we had a pretty good time with it. I remember one time I run out of the road up here at George Payne's up here. He had couple maples there close to the road. I run out of the road, went behind the maples, and come back out in the road down there between the house and the maples. It didn't. Don't many people remember that, I don't think.
You didn't tell him, did you?
I didn't hit no trees. I got around it.
Tell him about turning over that
Well, yeah.
time. In that that one seed car you had. You went to the grocery store.
Well, that was when it's roads wasn't too good at then, and I went out. It was slick. I think ice was on the ground. Anyhow, I run up the road ditches, or roads had ditches on each side for water to run down. I got out and hit that ditch and turned the car up on the side. It didn't really turn over. It turned against the bank. But we didn't have no trouble. It didn't tear it up very much. But anyhow, had to get a little help to get it back up in the road. It was coming from High Point. That was on up the road. Wasn't far from High Point.
Part-time Burton's along there, wasn't it?
Yep. Somewhere bound Martine Burton's along there.
Tell us
I
about
re-
going to Boone.
I was a pretty rough driver, I reckon.
Sounds like.
Another time, and was in the Model T, and some of the boys, I don't know which one got it started, but we was riding around. We was going up the highway, 109, just riding, and we just kept going. Nobody knew where we was going to go. We just kept going, and somebody said something about going to the mountains. Leslie Willard was dating a little bit, or he was like Ruby Allred, or Ruby Payne. Clyde Payne's daughter lived over on Wesley. I don't know, it was Wesley Road in, or what it was. Railroad Road in, I reckon. Anyhow, next ridge over where she was raised. And Leslie liked her pretty good. She was in school at Boone, so they got talking about just go up to Boone. Nobody said come back the other way and do nothing, turn around. Nobody even mentioned turning around. I don't know, it was me and Leslie and Skinny Payne, or Holland, if you want to call him that. Everybody called him Skinny then. And there was another, and I think
Hello,
it might have been
talking to Julie.
Noe Cecil that might have been
Yeah.
in there, and I don't know where anybody else
Yeah.
or not.
Okay, bye.
Anyhow, kept going, got up there going up the mountains, and the T-model give out. Wouldn't make it up the mountain. Somehow or another, we got it up to Boone, and man up there wanted to buy it, so we sold it to him. I forgot what we give. Wasn't much, but it's enough to get back home, money to get back home on the bus. So we caught a bus to come back home that night. And then our Model T stayed up there. So we didn't have a car no more. We lost that $20, I reckon.
You tell about what happened.
Anyhow, we got back down to Thomasville, and we had all doing all right, I thought, but we were sleeping and everything. Everybody got off the bus but Holland. But Thomasville, we didn't even know he was still on there. When the bus left, he went on, I think, I don't know where it was, High Point or somewhere he got off. And anyhow, we didn't get him off, and the rest of us got off. That was a big tale, wasn't it?
That was awful. Your daddy did that with you,
We didn't call anybody to tell them we was going, because we didn't know we was going. when we left here. So we got back the next morning, I think.
Get in trouble?
No, didn't get no trouble. I don't remember. I don't know where they got onto us much or not. We wasn't too mean.
Do you remember anything about, any stories about your brothers or sisters when you were growing up?
Well, I don't know about us doing a lot. We always played ball. The whole community played baseball down here in the yard. We had a barn sitting back down there close to the road, sort of, and a yard back out front of it. Pretty good place to play baseball. We played that every time we got a chance. You know, always a bunch of the boys meet at our house down at the barn. We played marbles a whole lot inside the barn, especially when it was raining. We'd clean it out, play marbles. We like to hunt a whole lot, most of us. Back them days, there's several rabbits to run. That's what we done. Had some dogs and run rabbits a whole lot during the winter. But there's not too many now. Of course, when I got older, I got into shooting some birds. Wasn't too good at hitting them, but I like to hunt them. Like,
They do good.
still like to hunt them or shoot at them. Ain't many around to hunt anymore. I don't really like to kill them because there ain't that many. But I like to see the dogs work them.
Tell about your dog that got killed, and I said you sick of the car.
Phyllis wants me to tell you about the dog that got killed. I had a bird dog, and got run over by a car, and she sent me a card, sympathy card, because my dog got run over.
He was so hurt by that.
I didn't like it too much, but it didn't hurt me as bad as she thought it did. I wasn't in love with it that much. But anyhow, that was when we was courting. She thought she'd be smart, I think.
That's right.
Where'd you go to church growing up?
Always went to Zion Church, but wasn't regular all the time. We've always went on and off, but we went when we was young, some, and then went over to Zion, and I reckon I was about grown. I joined this church over there. I don't know really how old I was. I guess it's 14, 15 maybe. Miss Cashat's the one taught me into going, joining. She was a pretty good lady. J.V.N. Cashat's first wife, I reckon it was. That was during one of the revivals or whatever, we had it over there. And she was one lady that'd go around try to get people to join and talk us out what we ought to do, tell us what we ought to do. So I joined the church during one of the revivals. And I had a time after that I didn't go to church too much. I mean, it was on and off some. But then, after I was married, started to going pretty good after we had
Vic.
Keith.
Becky. We didn't go to Becky's.
Huh?
I don't think we went much till Becky was born, did we?
Well, it might have been after Becky was born when I went. Mostly, I don't know.
Let's go back. Did you go into the service right after high school?
Well, it wasn't right after it. I think it was, the next year? Or
Yeah.
I
something like
think.
next year.
I'd been courting Phyllis a little when I went it. A while before I went to services. Went down and Noah Cecil went when I did. I don't remember. There was a bunch of them. I
James
forgot who.
Sink.
But,
James said-
James Sink went. James and I was put in the Navy, and Noah couldn't pass. 'Cause he was colorblind. He couldn't get in the Navy, but I did. But I was colorblind too. They found out after I got in the Navy, but I wasn't too bad, so they let me stay in. James and I were together for a while. We went to Chicago to naval base up there. Took our training and then went over to Rhode Island. Over there, I believe James went with me there. I'm not sure. Yeah, he went there with me, I think. That far, and then we got separated.
Can you tell me anything about your part in the war?
Well, went from Chicago to Rhode Island, took some training over there, and we got put on a ship, had a ship built, and they got on the Dionysus, named Dionysus or something like that. Anyhow, put on that, went down to Virginia for a little while afterwards at Rhode Island, to Norfolk. And then when we was shipped out, we went down through the Atlantic, down the lower side of the United States and back up the other side and got over in the Pacific.
How'd you cross over the Pacific?
Well, went through the Panama Canal. In there they have to raise us up by water because the Pacific is higher than the Atlantic somehow or another over there.
I think that was interesting.
And they had docks over there, some kind of docks or something or another. They'd put the ship in there, and then they'd put water in a dock to raise the ship up, and they'd run it out on the higher, run it out, build up with the ship with the docks or whatever. I don't know where it's dock they called or not. Anyhow, they raise the water to get the ship raised up before you can get in the Pacific. But it works. And anyhow, went across the Pacific. I forgot how many days, but the first time when we went, I don't even know where we went. Well, we went to Hawaii. First stop on. We just docked at Hawaii a while. I don't know how many days. I guess it's 2 or 3 weeks, I think. Maybe more than that.
When you were at Pearl Harbor?
Yeah. Well, we didn't go to Pearl Harbor till after the
It's all after
war was started and done gone. But anyhow, stayed there a while. We was on a repair ship, so we didn't have to get up where the fighting was. We stayed behind the fighting. But, anyhow, we'd have to watch for them. I got in the radar. That's what they put me in, 'cause they was gonna put me in as a flagman, but I couldn't do that on account of I was colorblind. Tried it a little, and anyhow I didn't get in that. Like I said, I'm too colorblind for that, and they put me on radar, and I worked downstairs, under the main ones. That's where the radar equipment was. I'd have to take shifts at it. Of course, it takes shifts on watch too, some. But I was, let's see, where was I when Antigua Island. That's one of the Marshall Islands, I think. Antigua, what is Antigua something island that I was stationed at when the bomb was let down over Hawaii. And wasn't too far back from it.
In the what? The bomb. Pearl Harbor was hit.
Yes.
No, you went in services then.
When I was Pearl Harbor, I was in the service when they had bombed Japan.
Well, Japan, that's not over here at Tallahassee.
Well, I done left Hawaii then. I was to Marshall Islands over there while I was there. Marshall Islands when they bombed Japan. Anyhow, wasn't too long. I forgot how many days, but it wasn't very long till I was over there where the bomb. And right there where they bombed, there wasn't nothing but tin. Oh, there wasn't no wood, no houses, nothing. Just some iron or tin around on the ground where the bombs fell. But I don't know how it was before it was over to what's the name of Japan's name? What's the towns over there?
Okinawa?
No, town.
Taiwan?
No,
That's
that's
China.
islands.
That's China, ain't it? Oh, man.
Tokyo.
Tokyo, yeah.
Anyhow, I got to go to Tokyo some while I was over there. It was, I don't know where it got hurt, bum real bad or not. Anyhow, I went to Tokyo. It was one
17 months.
It was one big storm when I was over there. We was out in the Tokyo Bay, I think it was, where the boat was. Rain got pretty rough. The boat was pretty rough out there. But the roughest water we saw was going down the Atlantic long after I left Bert, I don't know where it was before we got down to Virginia or not. Anyhow, I was coming down the Atlantic, the roughest water I saw. The waves was big, and the boat rocking so much, waves come across the top of the ship. But I didn't get seasick. All the time I was out riding on the water like that. Went to Tokyo, come back to Washington, out above Washington.
Oregon.
No, Maya. Seattle. Back into Seattle, parked up there a while. Wasn't very long, and we went down to California. And I got sick first time going from Seattle to California. And then I got sick several times after I got out of the Navy. When I go out on the water in the boats. Well, I got on they sent us back home from down in California. They sent us home by train. That took a pretty good while. I think it's 6 or 7 days or more.
You were in 17 months. In the Navy, 17 months.
17 plus 18, they counted it, I think. About 18 when I got out. I was discharged from Norfolk, I think.
What did you do between high school and then? Did you work or did you work here on farming?
I farmed between high school and Navy. Didn't do much because wasn't all that much time between it. But I was, I don't know, might have raised a couple crops, I don't know, because I was farming a while. I got out because I was only one there on the farm, I think, helping Mom and Dad, and I got off a little on account of that a while.
We got married in 45 and we graduated in 41. So you was 4 years before you went in services. You went in service, we got married right first furlough.
I don't think it was 4 years.
3 years, almost 4 years. Well, 3 years, sorry.
I don't know. It wasn't 4 years.
Because we were married. We was married
We
while
did.
you was in services.
We didn't court that long.
We did too.
It just didn't seem like long.
We did.
You were having fun.
We did.
Okay.
Well, now, when Ralph was in the Navy, Lloyd was home on furlough. And so Dorothy and Lloyd, Peggy and I, had Lloyd to take us to Asheboro and have a fortune told. And I said, well, if they tell me anything bad, I'm not going to believe it. But we just wanted to have a fortune told. Claude Lee was in services, Lloyd was in services, and Ralph was in services.
Leland was.
Well, Leland was too. And so on the way down there, I took my rings off. And when we got to the place, Peggy and Dorothy made me go first. And we went in this old room. It's dark, spooky looking. I was ready to turn around and run out then. But the first thing she said to me, she says, why did you take your rings off?
You went to see a fortune teller. You ought
Isn't
to
that
tell
what
me.
I said? Had a fortune told.
Well, you was going down there to get it towed.
Yeah, well, we got to the fortune teller's house, and the first thing she said to me is, "Why did you take your rings off?" And buddy, then I was ready to run out. Scared me to death. I said, "Well, I was just gonna see if you knew I was married." And she told me that Ralph would go overseas, but I didn't have to worry that the war would end by the time he got over there, and it did.
Not when as soon as I got there.
He wasn't there for just a little while, just a little while.
Pretty good little while.
Told me I didn't have to worry about him, and said that she told me how many children I had, but I don't remember how many she told me I would have. But when she told me that Ralph would be, the war would end pretty quick, that he wouldn't be in no danger, that really made me feel good. And when I worked with this at the bakery at that time in the office, and this man that used to work up there before I went to work up there was in the Navy, and he came in, and I told him that my husband was in the Navy, and he wanted to know what ship and all that stuff, and I told him he was on a repair ship. He was a radarman on a repair ship, and he told me, he says, "Well, if he's on a repair ship, you don't have to worry." He says, "They won't be in no danger." He said, if the ships or anything gets broke down, they bring them out to them. They don't go in the danger part. He said, "You don't have no worries." Well, that made me feel good too.
Tell me about getting married.
Well, Ralph came in on I forgot what day it was, but anyway, he come in and the school bus come by, and Bobby and Banks saw Ralph get off of the bus. I mean, off of the. They saw you here, and they was on the bus. They had to stop and let the kids off down here at the bus, and they saw Ralph here. Well, I thought when he got home, he'd be so thrilled to get to me, he'd come on up right quick, you know. And I bet you it was 2 hours before he came to my house, and I thought, heck, I don't know where he wants to see me or not. Because he didn't have, someone was working in the basement down here doing a load of tobacco. So he went down there, and he just stood down there and talked to me. He didn't act like he cared where he got to me or not. And they told me that he's at home. Well, I thought, well, I couldn't wait. I thought, well, why don't he come on? Why don't he come on? And, I bet it was 2 hours before he come up there. But he finally got up there, and so we had to meet with the preacher and see if we was gonna get married the next day. So I guess that night we went to see the preacher, didn't we?
I reckon.
Yeah, Lowry, Reverend Lowry's the one that married us. He was in the parsonage on Thomas. It was on East Main Street, West Main Street, wasn't it?
Yes.
West Main Street. The church parsonage was down there, so we went down and talked to him and made arrangements, and we got married the next day, 4 o'clock. Had to go that morning and get our license, marriage license. Mr. Sinton, Ralph, and I took off to Lexington. And when we got married, Helen and Nell and Maxine and Jackie Payne, went with us. I reckon Sam and Ronald was with us, wasn't it?
I think so.
I believe they went with us to get married. But anyway, when we got married, they were going to chase us, you know. They was going to follow us. And Ralph turned down over there in Thomasville somewhere. We thought we was in the city and run down there in a pig lot. Had to turn around, come back out. I don't know where we was at, and I thought, my Lord, I didn't know there's pigs in a city.
Some more of his good driving.
Yeah. But we had to turn around and come out from there, and then we went on, and we went to Greensboro and stayed in the O. Henry Hotel that night. That was our honeymoon. Ralph said, when I get home, we'll take our honeymoon. But we've not took a honeymoon yet. But anyway, we got to stay together while he was at home, and I was down here. I stayed down here while he was at home. And then when he went home, it was so blue after he left, when he went back to services. It was so blue down here, I couldn't hardly stand it, but I was going to catch the school bus and ride up home, you know, on the school bus. And so I could get on home, you know, and not have to stay down here till they got off of work. And I thought I would die. I was so lonesome I couldn't hardly stand it, and I was wanting to get home. So I caught the school bus and went home after he left and went to services. But the day he left and went to service, it was on a Sunday. We had to take him to the, you went on bus then, didn't you? And we had to take him to the bus station. Come back, and I was so blue, you know, I was just so blue. And they were eating dinner at home, And Buddy Payne is the boy that I used to write to him in services. He was in services with Shields, and he had come up to see Shields or come up to the house, and I didn't eat no dinner. I told him I just didn't want no dinner, so and he didn't eat no dinner. He said he'd done eat, and so all of us went to eat dinner. And we're standing in there in the front room, standing up at the stove. They had a heater in there. He says, "Why didn't you tell me that you were going to get married?" And I said, "Well, I didn't know I was supposed to." And he said, "Well, I wouldn't have written to you as long as I did if I'd known it." Well, he didn't write me too many letters after I, laid it around. But anyway, he was standing there and he says, "Phyllis, just think that old train's going all down the road." And I just busted out to crying, and it just got him so bad. I was so blue anyway, I couldn't hardly stand it. And when I started crying, he says, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I said, "I didn't mean to make you cry." But I was so blue I couldn't hardly stand it. And now he don't care where I'm around him or not, do you?
You mean you don't care whether you're around me or not?
Did you work while he was gone?
Yeah, I was working in the office then, when he was in the Navy.
Tell them about your disease.
I ain't got to it yet. I was working in the office at the Marita Bakery, and it's the first job I had after I finished my business course, and when Ralph come home and went to Rhode Island, I could stay with him until he left. So I went to see him, and I told him I was going to stay till he left. And that was, take off like that, you're lucky if they keep your job for you. And I told him, and Mr. Cheek, in fact, says, "Well, I don't know whether we can hold your job that long or not." I says, "Well, give it to somebody else." I said, "I'm going to be with Ralph as much as I can." So I stayed. I didn't get stay but a week. And when I came back, I called them up and I says, "Well, do I have a job or don't I?" And they said, "Yeah, you have a job." So I went into work then, and I worked till he'd come home. But I had nettle rash. All about that time, and I'd start to work, and maybe my eye would swell shut, or my lip would swell up, and I had it, and I tried everything I knew to, went to the doctor and everything, and even had my tonsils taken out. Thought maybe it was coming from my tonsils. Nothing helped it. So finally, the doctor says, "It's your nerves, is what it is." Says, "Go wherever your husband is and stay with him till he gets home." I says, he was in the state of Washington then. I said, "I'm not going to the state of Washington by myself." I said, "I'd be scared to death to go out there, just me." He said, "Well, that's what's going to take to cure you, because it's your nerves is what it is." And I kept the nettle rice till he come home. And when he come home, I got all right. But that was a weird thing. I mean, it was aggravating. I'd go to work and they'd say, "It don't make no difference how you look. You just come right on in. You'll be all right." And I'd go in sometimes. My lips swelled way up or my eyes swelled shut. Or I looked awful. But I went on in anyway and worked. What'd you say?
I said, I believe you was up at Rhode Island more than a week.
Yeah, I was up there a month. Yeah, I was at Rhode Island a month. Yeah, I was. I went to Norfolk and stayed a week. Yeah, I stayed at Norfolk a week. I stayed at Rhode Island a month. And he had to go off. Now that was an experience, I tell you. I stayed in a room, I had a room in a house, and I don't know whether they were sisters or something, just two women or what, but I don't know what, but I've never heard such cussing in my life. They would be cleaning up, and they just cussing each other, and I thought, my goodness, it was just awful. And I thought, I didn't see how in the world they could stand and live like that, but it was awful up there. I was glad to get out of there. And we went to this other house and stayed, and this woman, her daddy lived with him, and he couldn't speak no English. He was French. All he could speak was French. Well, Ralph and I had taken French in high school, and every night he would want Ralph would go to base, and he'd be home at 5 o'clock, just like he had a job, and come back every night. And every night he'd want us to play cards. What was that game we played? But not, what was that? I forgot the name of the game. It was some card game, and we'd play cards with him, and he would say something in French, and we'd answer him. One of us would answer him sometime, and his daughter would translate to us, you see, and translate back to him. And when we'd answer him, she couldn't get over us knowing what he said, you know. And I said, well, we took French, you know, in high school, but and some things we could just pick up and answer ourselves. And she couldn't understand. She thought that was great that we could understand him, you know, enough to do that. But he was a good old man, and I enjoyed it there. When I stayed there, it was a nice place. But it was an experience to do all that by myself. But I wouldn't have got to go at Rhode Island if it hadn't been for Peggy and Lloyd. Mom and Daddy told me I was not going up there by myself. And Peggy and Lloyd had just gotten married, and they got married in March. We got married in January, and they got married in March. And I told them, I said, Peggy and Lloyd, why don't you all go with me up there and let that be your honeymoon? And I talked to them, and they went with me. So I got to go. Daddy says, you're not going, and Mama both says, you're not going if you can go by yourself. You're not going by yourself. So, but I had to come back home by myself. It wasn't no different. But they wouldn't let me go and those things. So Peggy and Lloyd went with me, and I got to go up there and stay with him a month. And that was a trip for me because I wasn't used to going out like that. I didn't like going by myself, really.
And once he came home, you moved in here, right?
Yeah, when he came home, we moved down here, and we started helping farm. We farmed, helped them. And one year I know we made $1,900 is all we made. All that year, that's what we made. That was our part. And I told Ralph, I said, now Ralph, I don't have much of an education, but I can do something. And I think I can make more money than that. I said, I'm going to public work. So I went to, Ada Quarters, a woman that they used to rent on Grandpa Shields' rent a house on them, and she was at my daddy's, and she told me that they were teaching sewers, the people to sew upholstery. Well, now, see, I worked in an office before, while Ralph was in service. And she said there's a teaching people to sew upholstery, and she said that's a good job if you would like it. And I thought, well, I believe I'll go up there. And I went up there, and I got me a job. And I started off making $1. Let's see what, I made $8 a week. $8. Let me see, was that right? That wasn't right. Was $8? I made $1 an hour. Started off, I believe, $1 an hour. Made $8 a day. Did I make that? $40 a week. That's right. $40 a week. And boy, I thought I was rich. But it helped us a whole lot. So Ralph then he went on, and you farmed a year.
Sounded like a lot of money for them days.
I did though. I about $40 a week is what I made. And you farmed another year or so, didn't you?
Yeah, or more.
You did
More than that, I allow.
2 or 3, maybe a couple of years more. And then he went to public work. Because we just couldn't make nothing on the farm. And I told him, I said, shoot, if you get your work at a job at town like I did, I said, we can live a little better. And we did. We done better. And then I got pregnant after we come home.
I farmed, and you come in and helped later
Yeah.
in a year for a few years.
Yeah, I would come home from work and go out and help them, you know. Yeah, that's right, I did. But we used to when he went to work and me both at public work, we'd go work at public work, come in, sometimes we'd eat supper and then go out to the field, or we'd go out to the field and come back and eat supper. I always wanted to eat supper first because I didn't like to eat late. But we'd go out and work and come in about 9 o'clock, and then we'd put the children to bed and take our baths and go to bed and get up the next morning at 5:30. And we done that. I don't see how we done it. And then I'd have my freezing and, well, I didn't have freezer locker then. I had to have my canning to do, the house to clean. And back then, Ralph didn't mow yards, and we had to push more. And I was at home, and our yards was just like our house. We had to work in our yards just like we did the house. But they didn't mow the yards down here like that. Once in a while they'd get the mules out with a mowing machine and mow the yards like that. But we mowed ours every week. And so I told Ralph I was gonna mow some yards, and so we got a lawnmower, and sometimes on Saturday we'd have to even put in a barn or tobacco, and I'd have my house to clean up, and the yards I'd rake the yards, the white of them, sweep them all the way from here down to the barn, which was down there in front of Keith's house, every week, and then I'd have my washing to do, and work like something crazy. I don't see how I done it now. And Ralph, he'd come in on Saturday dinner, and he'd take his bath and go take the butter and egg milk and get the groceries, and that was it. And so it kept on, and I finally told him, I said, I want to get me a riding mower. I said, that'll be easy. I said, I want a riding mower. So we got a riding mower, and I still mowed the yards. He still didn't mow the yards. So I had to do all that, but that was a whole lot easier than pushing it like I did before. And after we retired, I told him, I said, now you can take the yards over. I'm not going to mow no more. You can mow the yards and I'll do the house. But it didn't work out that way. I did the house for a long time, but now he sweeps the house, goes through the house every week and sweeps it too, and does the yard work too. But he's getting paid back for what I done. But we worked together. It's been rough times. I mean, we really had rough times, and didn't have nothing much, but we got by. We done all right, I reckon.
Go back and tell about when you had Daddy.
Well, now then, when we was married in '45, January of '45, on the 4th day, and 2 years later, on the 19th of January, Keith was born. And at that time, I was working for Clyde Hitchcock. I was working his secretary in a space in the exposition building where they sold furniture. And there's a man wanted me to sell lamps in our space for them. Said he'd pay me the same salary that Clyde was paying me. And I says, I'm sorry, but I said, I hope when that market comes here, I'll be at home with a little baby boy. I said, I'm pregnant and expecting a baby the month that they had the sale. And sure enough, I was. I had the baby and was at home when they had the sale, and I didn't get to work for him. But Keith was born on the 19th of January, and it was raining. It was just raining, just a real hard rain. It was on a Sunday, and Mildred and Sam Craven, Ralph's sister and her husband, their children came to eat dinner that day. And I don't remember, I know we French fried potatoes, because that's what I done. I got up that morning and I didn't feel good. But I helped Miss Sink cook dinner, and she tried to get me to sit down, and I'd say, no, I'm going to stay on my feet. Maybe that'll help bring things on, you know. So I French fried potatoes and helped turn the stove, I was on my feet about all morning. And we eat dinner, and she says, now you get ready, and you go on up to your mama's, because that was closer to the hospital, and said, we'll wash these dishes and clean up the table. So Ralph and I went up to Mama's, and they played cards. Ralph and Ronald and some of them was playing cards, and I felt so bad. And about 7:30, I reckon, I said, Ralph, let's go to bed. I just felt so bad, I just couldn't hardly stand it. Mama said, do you think you're able to go to bed? Do you think you need to go to bed? And I said, I need to. I said, I feel so bad. Mama said, I think you need to go to the hospital. And I don't know. I reckon I don't know where I had any pains in or not. I mean, off and on all during the day. But I mean, real bad, sharp pains. But anyway, at 8 o'clock, I had a chill. And Helen had a fit. She said, Mama Phyllis is having a chill. Mama said, you're going to the hospital. So we took off. Ralph just flew up the road, and it just poured down rain. And I said, Ralph, we want to get there in one piece. I said, don't go so fast. I said, we'll make it all right. And we got there, and at 10:30, we got up there about 8 o'clock or 8:30, between 8 and 8:30. At 10:30, Ralph Keith was born. Ralph was back home. And everybody thought I was going to have a little girl. We didn't even have a boy's name picked out, and it was a boy. And both of us wanted a boy, and we were so happy it was a boy. And then 3 years later, Becky was born during the week sometime. I know Mila Payne and I went shopping the day that I went to the hospital the night she was born, but I forgot what day she was born on. Keith was born on a Sunday night, but I seemed like Becky was born on a Friday. I'm not sure though. But anyway, Mila and I went shopping that day. Shopped all day. Well, I felt fine. Felt fine when I went to bed, and I woke up at 3:15, I think it was. It was around 3 or a little before, a little after. So it was a little after 3, I think. And anyway, I told Ralph, I said, Ralph, I've got to go to the hospital. So we went to the hospital. Mama didn't even know I was in the hospital, nothing, when Becky was born. And so he took me up there, and at 6 o'clock, everything was over. I done had Becky, and everything was over. Ralph went back out to Mama's and told her she had a granddaughter. And she didn't even know I was in the hospital. She was so tickled. Nolan said she stayed on the phone 2 hours calling everybody she had that was the first granddaughter. All of us had boys. And Mama was so tickled. And then she didn't know it. She didn't have to worry about me because she didn't even know I was up there. Of course, I wasn't up there too long anyway. But we was really proud of both of them.
Tell a little bit about Daddy and his asthma.
Well, in Keith now, when he was just real young, he had asthma. And that was terrible. I sat up a many a night in the bed and let him sit up against me so he could he couldn't get his breath. And we doctored with Dr. J.W. Slade. His wife was had asthma real bad, and he specialized in it. And we doctored with him a whole lot, and we tried everything anybody tell us to try, we'd try it. And when he was little, though, we had his baby bed that he would lay in, and when he would breathe, he'd shake that whole bed. And Zane and Jean, it's Ralph's nephew and nieces that lived across the road, Leland's girls, they'd stay up here. They stayed with Miss Sink while they worked, and so they was up here, and they was so scared. They thought Keith was going to die and it was scary. And they'd go out in the front yard, and they're scared to be in here, afraid he was going to die. And finally, Keith, Miss Sink heard about this Primatene on TV, and everybody talked about being so good, so she said, why don't you try it? So I got it, and I tried it. Didn't even ask the doctor. I just give it to him. And I'd give him a pill. I'd give him a whole pill. Now, he was just a little young, and he was up on, wasn't a real baby, but I mean, he was small. About 3 or 4 year old maybe. And I'd give him those pills. When he had a spell, in 15 minutes, he'd be fine. And Ralph was fussing. He said, I should not give him those pills like that, since you're going to mess him up. And I said, well, Ralph, it helps him, and I don't see no reason not to. So when I went to Dr. J.W., next time I told him what I was doing and how it done, he says, well, what's in those pills? A whole lot of what I'm giving him. But said, if they help him, give them to him. So that's great. And from then on, Keith it wasn't too bad. When he'd get a spell of it, he would take a pill and he'd be all right. And if he wouldn't leave the house, if he went to spend the night anywhere, he took his pills with him. Everywhere he took them with him, so he'd have them. But that was a trying time. Now when he had that was scary. Because I seen him sometime when I didn't think he'd get another breath. It was rough. But after he reached 14 or so along there, I ain't gonna say what because I don't pronounce it right. What is it?
Puberty.
Puberty. I don't never say it right, and he makes fun of it. Well, when he reached puberty, he got all right, and he's never been, I don't guess he's been bothered since. But they say if you're a baby, if you have it, you will outgrow it, but if you're older and get it, you won't outgrow it. And Becky, she was always pretty, she didn't have no sickness like that, did she?
Nothing
like
much.
that, no. We was pretty lucky. We were pretty lucky about our health and all. Until I, let's see, 1999, I had a mammogram. And they found a suspicious spot in my left breast. And I mean, didn't think nothing about it. I had a mammogram every year, and I didn't think nothing about it. They called me and told me they wanted me to come back. So I went back, and they had me to have a biopsy. And so I still didn't think about cancer. I just thought it was just, wasn't nothing to it. Well, it was cancer. And I thought, well, it didn't bother me. I mean, I ordinarily I would have been scared to death of cancer. But it didn't bother me. I just prayed and I said, Lord, I didn't ask for this and I didn't want it, but I got it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to give it to you. You know what's best. It's in your care. And I didn't worry one bit about it. Now, people might think I lie, but that's the truth. I didn't. And I know Alda was so tore up. And she come down here, and when she saw me, she said, Grandma, I was all right. Because I just turned it over to the Lord. And I said, nah, I'm just letting, you know what's best. You know what I need to do, and you know what's what. And I just said, it's in your hands. I'm not, and I didn't worry.
What about Olga?
She found your doctors.
Yeah, Alda found my doctor. When she had her Sloan, the doctor messed her up, and she told me when I was to have my surgery at High Point, they gave me the doctor that operated on Alda. And when I told her, she says, Grandma, you're not going to have that doctor. So that's when it messed me up. And I said, is it? I said, no, I don't want him either. She says, I'm going to get your doctor. Says, you're going to Winston. You're not going to High Point. And I said, well, I don't make no difference to me. I said, I can go to High Point as good as Winston. No, Grandma, you're not going to High Point. You're going to Winston. Well, she got on the internet, and she read up all about this, the cancer, and all. And she called her doctor. She finally found a doctor up there that helped her. And she called him and told him what she wanted. Said that I had cancer. What doctor did he recommend? So he recommended Dr. Levine. So she made an appointment, and Alda went with us. First time we went up there, she said, I'm going to go with you. Well, she had read this, all she could find out about this cancer, the cancer. And she asked that doctor questions, and all he says, are you a nurse? And she says, no, I'm not a nurse. I said, she's been on the encyclopedias and on the internet and everything, trying to find out all she can. But he said, well, the questions she's asking, he said, I thought maybe she's a nurse, but she really, got up on it. And when they operated, my cancer was just 1 centimeter. It hadn't spread. It wasn't in my lymph nodes or anything, and I didn't have to remove my breast. They just had a lumpectomy. And I got along fine. I had to take radiation. That wasn't too funny, but I could stand it. But that radiation's rough, but I could take it. And I got along good with it. But I tell you, I would never. I said if it had been Becky, or Sandra, or Julie, or Audra, I'd have worried myself to death. But me, it didn't bother me a bit, because I thought, well, and that's what I did. I just told Lord. I said, Lord, I've got it, and I didn't want it, so I'm just leaving it up to you. And He really took care of it.
Tell some stories about Betty and Aunt Becky when they were growing up. Some of the things they did.
Let's see, what did they do? When we went to town, you want to hear it? You don't, see, I do all the talking. When we worked at town, we still farmed. And so we'd leave Keith and Becky. Here, Keith could do, he could run it. He didn't use a tractor, did he? Did he use a mule? Did he cultivate with a mule?
Well, not in his young, he didn't.
Well, I mean, when we left him to do the tobacco, he used the mule, didn't he? Yes. Yeah, he plowed with the mule.
He plowed some, I reckon.
Yeah, he did. And they tended to the tobacco, and we'd come home, and on Sundays,
I wouldn't say they tended it.
they done the work in it.
No.
They done the most of the work in it now. We'd come home in the evening and help, but they done the biggest part of it. And on Sunday, we'd go down, we'd always walk down and see, the tobacco and all, and look and see how they'd done and all. And I told Ralph, I said, I can't believe those kids.
Them children didn't raise tobacco by themselves.
Ralph, they done a whole lot. They done a whole lot of the work in the tobacco. Keith plowed it. Now hoe and all. I expect we come in and helped hoe and all, but he would cultivate it after we got it hoed and all. They've done the biggest part of it. Becky had to clean out the water furrows, and Keith done the plowing. And he'd get so mad at her because she wouldn't keep it going from water furrow to water furrow as he done it. She'd let him she'd do this one and then let that and go, then did 2 or 3 rows and then go and catch him each one up, like that. And that'd make him mad because she wouldn't be working all the time. And they'd get in fights sometime about it. And Becky'd get mad sometime and she'd come to the house and leave it. And we'd have to get on to them about that some. But all in all, they done pretty good to be left by themselves. But I said there's not many kids that would have worked and done like they done, nobody around but them. But they really done good. We was proud of, when we'd go back and look at it, on the weekend, we was proud of the way everything looked. I told her they really done good. But we always, they worked pretty hard.
Any good stories about them dating or anything? Anything you can think of?
Well, now when Keith was dating, he always come in around 11 o'clock. I never did have no trouble. Didn't have to worry about him because at 11 o'clock he just come home. That's the way we used to do. So he'd come home at 11 o'clock. And Sandra, I know, said one time, she asked him, says, why do you have to leave at 11 o'clock? He said, well, that's bedtime. And I always told him it was time, bedtime was 11 o'clock. They always said after 12 o'clock there's nothing going on and nobody had no business of being out. And that's when all the meetings, most of the things always took place. So Keith, I never did have to worry about him. A little after 11 o'clock, Keith would come home. And Randall would leave at 11 o'clock. And Miss Sink, she lived with us, and she was in a wheelchair for 10 years. And Becky and Randall was dating, and on Sunday night, Keith was in school at Chapel Hill. Well, we'd have to take him home every Sunday night. Well, Becky and Randall stayed here and with Miss Sink every Sunday night, and till we got back, and that helped us out a whole lot. But we didn't have no trouble out of either one of them dating and all. They done good. They didn't give us any trouble. So we got along pretty good. The grandchildren, I don't know what we'd done without them. I could have the blues and they could come in and just chip me up. Help me a lot. And we've got one great-grandson and 2 great-granddaughters now. We're just as proud of them as we were the grandchildren. And they really are joy to see come too. I enjoy seeing them come. And Becky's got the Sloane's the oldest one. She's 6, and that's Becky's little girl. And then Keith had the little boy, Braden, and he's cute as a button, and we enjoy him too. And then Becky had Audrey had another little girl, Morgan, and she's just 4 months old now. But we just cherish all 3 of them. They're just real good, real sweet.
When did y'all retire?
I retired when I was 62, and I'm 78 now, so that'd be
16 years.
16 years. I've been retired 16 years, and I loved it.
It was about the time Todd and Stephen were starting school, wasn't it?
Todd, yeah, that's right.
Right about that time. And since you've been retired, you've taken some trips.
Yeah, I've been on some trips. Ralph's gone on a few with me, but I've gone on trips with Neil. Would get up trips on buses, and I've really took some good trips. I've been to the Amish country in Pennsylvania twice, and we went to the Amish country in Ohio one time. We've been to Niagara Falls, and we've been to Washington. And we've been to South Carolina to the Azalea Garden, but the year we went we didn't get to see nothing because it came in frost right before we went down and killed everything. We didn't get to see nothing down there. That was a wasted trip. But I enjoyed the trips we went on. I enjoyed him. Ralph would go sometime. Sometime he wouldn't go. He didn't like to go and stay. He don't like to go and stay away from home a week at a time, or 4 or 5 days at a time. If he go overnight, it's not too bad. But one year we went fishing. We always go fishing every fall. And one year we went fishing, and Alden Mitchell and Becky and Randall, they went, and they had a house and they wanted us to go with them one year, so we went down with them. Well, then my brothers and sisters went down the next week, so I told Ralph, I said, now we're going to stay with Becky and them this week, and next week we're going to stay with my sisters, and also we could be with both of them. And we stayed 2 weeks that time, and I really enjoyed it, and I wasn't ready to come home then. But Ralph he said he wasn't going to do that no more, but he really enjoyed it too, though. But then you could surf fish, and it was fun, but you can't do nothing surf fishing now. You can't catch nothing. So we go out in the boat now and fish, and I never did think I'd go out in the boat on water like that. And in the ocean, we've even been out in the ocean fishing. And if anybody told me I ever done that, I'd tell them it's crazy. But I love it. I really enjoy it. And I've never been sick.
And now y'all enjoy doing things with the 60 Plus Club?
Yeah, we have a 60 Plus Club, and now we really have a good time. We go on day trips, and once in a while we go, maybe 2 or 3 days or something like that. But we've really have a good time on our 60 Plus Club. That's the best organization I've joined at the church yet. And we go to church now. Another thing that we're really fortunate about, our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren now, we're all in church about every Sunday. We all go to the same church. Now the boys are in school now at Boone, and they don't get to come like they did. But when they're at home, most of the time, all of us are in church at one time, every Sunday. And that's really something I'm proud of, that we can all be together. And we don't have no trouble. I mean, everybody just knows they go to church. We just get up and everybody gets ready and goes to church.
Anything else you can think of that we've missed?
I've told a whole lot. You think of anything else?
I don't reckon there's much more to tell. That's about enough, isn't it?
I guess so. I guess we'll say bye.
Well, we've enjoyed talking with you. Y'all get a lot.